Yeah, I think the golden ticket without question, Dylan, is people using the renovation loans. So there's two primary ones that we do a lot of. That's the 203 FHA 203K and the home style loan. Both of those are low down payment. So one FHA is 3.5. The home style is conventional 5% down, and you're able to wrap in your renovation cost into that loan.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today we're joined by Jonathan Klemm, a business builder and servant leader who understands that real estate at its core is a people business. He's focused on building relationships, solving problems, and creating value where it actually matters. With a background in heavy civil engineering and prop tech, he's now the founder of Quality Builders, a Chicago-based general contractor helping homeowners, house hackers, and investors navigate the complexities of renovations. Welcome to the show, Jonathan.
Wow, that was impressive. I don't know if I wrote that bio or ChatGPT did, but that was better. One of the better ones I've heard, Dylan. I appreciate you having us. Thank you.
A little bit of both. We took some inspiration from what you wrote and also what I've seen online. And, when we talk about the Chicago market specifically, it's a little bit different than so many other markets. I've learned from guests on the show, there's aldermans in different parts who are kind of like miniature mayors, if you will. How
Yeah.
did you get started, in the real estate market in Chicago?
Oh, yeah. Great question. I got started because I was a super scarce minded person and I wanted to figure out how to make money. And, I eventually got into real estate kind of by happenstance. I did kind of like a live and flip type of model where I bought a property through an auction and didn't really know what I was doing. Ended up trying to do everything myself. Didn't go great, but I actually was able to use that capital gains tax benefit to avoid my capital gains because I stayed there for 2 out of the last 5 years. And so that's kind of how I bootstrapped my way into the real estate market here in Chicago.
So investing first and then realized, hey, I can not just do this for myself, but also help other investors.
Yeah, I think I slowly realized how difficult it can be working in this smaller residential space with general contractors. So coming from big, heavy civil, $100 million plus jobs, I learned a lot of systems processes, that maybe not every small general contractor is used to. And so our whole goal is to implement those, big process systems from big construction into the small residential space where there's a lot more challenges, just with the help of labor and building the right team.
One of the things that I think is particularly challenging, and I mentioned this, is, between approvals and the local dynamics, I think Chicago can be one of the trickier places to navigate. How do you navigate that? And, what should investors know before getting into a deal in Chicago?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think it happens in every state, but I mean, the key here, Chicago is almost like its own little state here in Illinois. And so being able to understand the different municipalities, the permit processing of the zoning is the key, because if you get hung up in those areas, it can be a super challenging and time consuming process. And so we heavily focus on partnering with the right architects who come up with the right plans, understand all of the zoning, and then we kind of push things through once we get the project going through all of the inspection.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So making sure you have the right team between your general contractor and architect is probably the biggest thing I'd echo as for importance as far as like figuring out the Chicago market and all the permitting and zoning challenges.
How important is it to build relationships with local officials? You mentioned, architects, right? But with local officials themselves, and how does someone even begin to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be a personal preference in that situation and more based on your overall strategy. So if you're going into projects here in Chicago and you're doing a lot of zoning changes and variances and things that need to get approved by your local alderman, like you said, your mini mayor, then that's when you need to start thinking about what areas you're working in the same area over and over again, is the key, in my opinion, to being able to scale so you can build out those systems and processes. And so I think each person has to evaluate what path they're taking. If it's just going to be a cosmetic renovation or a gut renovation where you're not doing a lot of zoning and variance type issues, you're not going to have to deal with those aldermans and having changes. So I think, my recommendation is to avoid that and or go all in on that. I think you want to do one or the other. I think trying to do zoning stuff once and then not zoning and then a cosmetic and then a full gut renovation, like it's so easy to go in so many different directions. I know that was probably my kryptonite, getting started, as I said yes to everything. And it's very, very hard to build a repeatable system to help grow and scale when you're doing it like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think finding your niche is so key.
Yeah.
Do you see in Chicago specifically a specific avatar of investor, or a persona that tends to succeed, or even a deal strategy in the single family space, whether it's long term holds or flips, that you see working particularly well?
Yeah, I mean, I see it working well in the right suburbs, typically. And, there's different suburbs that have different restrictions. So a lot of the south suburbs here in Chicago have quite a bit less restrictions. And so they're good for a buy and hold. And some of the ones that have more restrictions are actually easier to fix and flip. And I would say those western suburbs are some of the ones that have some more restrictions. You could think Lyons, Berwyn, Cicero, and down towards the south side, you kind of have like Dalton, Blue Island, some of those other south suburbs that I see a lot more buy and hold investors in, and some of the western suburbs I see more fix and flip type investors.
It sounds like, you're bullish on certain areas of Chicago for certain strategies. Are there any specific pockets where you would say, okay, if I had to, just pick one area of Chicago to do deals in, or investors that I'm working with are doing a lot of deals in, would it be the south side? Would it be the west part of Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, my personal preference is a southeast quarter, I'll call it. And if for listeners who know Chicago, if you're on 90 going south, there's an area between 90 and the Skyway east that runs along the lake. And so those neighborhoods would be Washington Park, Bronzeville, South Shore, Woodlawn, and all of those areas continue to gentrify, and mainly because in Chicago, you want to follow the path of progress, and the path of progress here in Chicago is completely based on where we have public transit. And so that green line and yeah, it's a green line that runs down in that area, continues to be extended. And so I really, really like that southeast corridor. I think it's a great area for not only appreciation, but also cash flow. On the northwest side of Chicago, along the blue line, where you see a lot of more house hackers, people in that 2 to 4 unit space, they're banking a lot more on appreciation
Hmm.
than cash flow. And I think that works fine. Like that was a strategy for me early on. Like I broke even.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
On a lot of my, 2 unit properties, but the appreciation, can be in the 6 digit, range. And that makes it worth it as long as you have enough cash flow coming in to support that lifestyle.
Are there any deal killers or red flags that you see in deals where you would immediately say to a client, or if it's a deal that you're looking at, we're not going to touch this?
Yeah, I think the easiest one to point out is, there's a lot of areas on the south side of Chicago where, it's a little rougher is a nice way of putting it. And I think to a lot of outside investors, they see what the numbers look like, the higher cash on cash returns, what they, don't understand the heavy lifting that comes with the property management in those areas. I learned firsthand, personally on a building, 7033 South Indiana in Greater Grand Crossing, and I bought into the building and we tried to stabilize it. We ended up having squatters. We ended up having
Yeah.
two different drug dealers. One drug dealer set another drug dealer's tier on fire that resulted in a $400,000 fire claim. And we just couldn't get the building repaired fast enough to get it back and stabilized on the market. And so it literally sank into the ground $50,000 later.
Yeah, I think when people talk about the influence that a neighborhood can have on your property, it can impact so many different things from property management, but also you're having to then deal with potentially changeover in tenants more regularly, right? Because people might not be as inclined to stay for longer and longer times. I do want to pivot though and ask you about building the business as a GC, as a general contractor. How did that pivot come about for you? And then what was it like, on the ground level building that business?
Yeah, so it started with actually my own development. So I had a lot in the northwest side of Chicago, and I'd been working for a property technology company, networking quite a bit. Like it really started with me networking. I went to every kind of local real estate event for probably 2 years straight, had built a very strong Rolodex of subcontractors, and, had priced out the project to different GCs. I realized like how much it was going to cost with other GCs, and realized my background was in general contracting for the last 10 years. And it just made sense to do it myself. And after that, and all the struggles that I also had with other general contractors, it just seemed like there was a gap in that market and a better way of doing things. And for us at Quality Builders, like we don't want to be a luxury home builder. I think that's what any smart general contractor does. He goes where he can go make more margin. We actually still want to be focused on this kind of like economical to middle grade client, whether they are a homeowner, investor, or house hacker, and be able to provide a quality product at maybe a bit lower price than we probably could, and really build more of a volume based business.
How does your background in engineering, give you an edge compared to other contractors?
I mean, I think it's not necessarily the school, but it's just the mindset and the way of thinking, right? When you go through engineering school and you do all this calculus and physics and all these crazy numbers, like you're just become such an analytical thinker that you process things very quickly. And for me, I think that's the key is I'm able to think quicker, solve problems faster, and ultimately, hopefully, get projects done sooner. I don't pretend like it's all sunshine and rainbows. I think every project almost always ends up costing more and taking longer than we expect. That's kind of the nature of renovation. But having that analytical mindset has just helped me, build systems and processes to help our business slowly scale.
For folks who are listening and thinking about doing their first renovation or their first house hack or their first flip in Chicago, what's one thing that you would say they absolutely have to get right from day one?
Yeah, I mean, super easy answer. It's just like the scope of work. You have to know exactly what you want to do in order to know how much it's going to cost.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
So many clients come to us and don't exactly know what the scope is because they don't know how much it's going to cost. And it becomes this like chicken and the egg game of, okay, well, what if I do this first? What if I do that? And I think the best clients we have a crystal clear vision on what they want. And when they have that, it's a lot easier for us to move the process forward quicker. And so spending that upfront time on the pre-construction of figuring out exactly what materials you want, where those are going, has been the key for us that we've really had to rebuild our business upon, is making sure that we're taking the time up front, not letting clients rush us into projects. And so making sure that they have a crystal clear scope of work is the number one thing I can recommend to anyone listening who's getting going.
Now, I'm sure you've seen everything that there is to see working with investors, homeowners, flippers, being a general contractor yourself. Any horror stories that stand out to you that you can share with our audience?
I mean, yeah, many. There's been several projects for us, I think, that have been very, very challenging. Each time while we were growing over the last 5 years, we continually took on more challenging projects. And when you take on more challenging projects, there's just a lot more room for things to happen that you weren't aware of. And so I think specifically back on a property where we added a third story to a 2-unit building, and there was just so many details on like the metal framing that isn't necessarily traditional, and the project ended up taking about like 2.5 to 3 months longer and probably costing at least 10 to 15% more than we had anticipated. And understanding the level of risk with bigger projects is one of the things I think everyone has to factor into their numbers more, is just having that right contingency. The bigger the project is, the more contingency you probably need to have, especially if you're adding square footage. So think adding additions, extensions, or digging down in basements, which is super common here in Chicago.
I'm thinking about the avatar of the individual who invests in Chicago from an investment standpoint. And being that there's a lot of competition, it's already highly developed. I'm imagining most of the people investing in the single family space in Chicago are themselves also physically living in Chicago or in the greater area. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I would say that's probably spot on, right? The people who are investing in single family are close to home often, more often than not. It's often, the people who are investing in the 10 plus multifamily, outside money from New York or California or wherever it might be, that are investing out of state. And a lot of the people who are closer to home are investing, in those single family properties because they're just getting going in that process.
I do want to ask you, we are coming up on time here, but you mentioned, all the different folks that you assist, whether it's, investors, folks who are doing some type of house hack, renovating their own property. Where would you say is the biggest source of equity and cash for people? Is it in their personal home? Is it in an investment property? If they're looking to make an investment, are people doing HELOCs? Are they putting together money between friends? How are people affording to make their first investment in the Chicago area?
Yeah, I think the golden ticket without question, Dylan, is people using the renovation loans. So there's two primary ones that we do a lot of. That's the 203 FHA 203K and the home style loan. Both of those are low down payment. So one FHA is 3.5. The home style is conventional 5% down, and you're able to wrap in your renovation cost into that loan. So I mean, just imagine the bank's giving you 30 years to pay off, a three or $400,000 renovation. The amount of equity you're able to build by the bank financing that renovation is just, earth staggering. So by far the, best thing I think anyone can do who's looking at getting in the game is look at one of those 2 to 4 unit properties in Chicago and take advantage of one of the renovation loans I just mentioned.
Coming up on time here, Jonathan, any new projects that you're working on? And then as well, what's the best way for folks to reach out to you or your team?
Yeah, we got new projects coming up all the time. We had a pretty cool one coming up in the kind of downtown area in the River North. That's what I was trying to think about. It's going to be a cool commercial space and 2 units up top, and that's going to be a little bit different for us, a little bit more higher end model, which I'm excited about. And for people looking to get in touch with us, the easiest place is by far our website. If anyone just goes to www.qualitybuilders.com, you can sign up for a free consultation. And we also have a free instant estimator on there. So if people are trying to get some rough numbers and have some idea on the property, whether it's multifamily, single family, the square footage, you can get some, decent realistic numbers if you hop on our website and use our instant estimate.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.